Now to President Joe Biden kicking off a tour today in metro Atlanta on the heels of his first major address to Congress. He's celebrating his first 100 days in office today with a rally in Duluth this evening. But before that, he's headed to Plains, Georgia, where he will meet with former President Jimmy Carter and his wife Rosalind. A reunion for two big Democratic allies. Joe Ripley joining us live with more on what to expect out of that meeting. And Joe, we spoke with Carter's grandson, and he says his granddad is excited about this visit, right?
Yeah, good morning, Sheba. You mentioned two longtime Democratic allies. They're also very close friends as well over the last 4.5 decades. Former President Jimmy Carter, Georgia's own, as well as current President Joe Biden. Their friendship standing the test of time. They will get to see each other today as well. You'll remember way back in 1976 when Jimmy Carter first ran for president, he earned an endorsement from then Senator Joe Biden, one of the first U.S. senators to support Carter. Since then, Carter has been very public on certain foreign policy and social justice issues. Carter's also battled through major health complications, all while regularly teaching Sunday school at Maranatha Baptist Church in Plains. About 2.5 hours from here in Duluth. Carter returned the endorsement last year when Biden ran for president. Former President Carter's grandson, one-time gubernatorial candidate Jason Carter, expects his grandfather to beam when he meets with Biden.
He'll see them where they live, and I think they're just thrilled to get that opportunity to share, some personal moments with somebody that they've known now, for 45 years.
And you can imagine the stories, all the wisdom those two will share among each other as well. Jason Carter noted that his grandfather also tied with President Biden through certain issues that the two face as president, including economic turmoil and environmental issues as well. Sheba.
Joe Ripley, thank you. And here's one last look at President Biden's schedule. He'll be visiting the Carters this afternoon just before 1:30. Then the drive-up rally in Duluth at 6. By 7, he's expected to be leaving Georgia. We'll have the full schedule for you on 11alive.com. We'll be posting updates there for you as well. Francesca.